This is going to be a 5-minute presentation on a 2-minute snippet of gameplay relating to the Mantis Lord's boss fight in Hollow Knight. I will be using Steve Swink's model of Game Feeler's skill as written in his book, A Game Designer's Guide to Visual Sensation. Skill is defined as a learned pattern of coordinated muscle movement intended to achieve a result and a measure of how efficiently intent can be translated. The Mantis Lord boss fight takes place in an enclosed room with 3 bosses staring you down. At first you will only fight one, then after you beat her, you will fight the other 2 at the same time. Later on in the game, as seen in the gameplay snippet, you will have to fight all 3 at once. In accordance with our definition of skill, William Pellon of Team Cherry shares that he had an interest in people becoming more efficient in the combat mechanics, as seen in this quote. The boss has 3 simple attacks that gives the player an ability to learn in a relatively safe environment when you're only fighting one lord at a time. The horizontal dash to train jumping, the vertical dive to train dashing, and a projectile that can be thrown in different ways depending on the position of the boss to keep the player paying attention to their own positioning. The relentless attacks by the boss require you to learn how to dodge their attacks quicker and quicker until it's almost an unconscious action, which is a perfect example of inducing a flow state. The gradual progression of a player's mastery matches the progression of a boss's difficulty. This is to keep the player in a flow state where the challenge and threat of a boss never goes away, but there isn't any anxiety or fear of failure since the difficulty isn't anything new or insurmountable. This is also exemplified by the quotes by Ari Gibson of Team Cherry, who wanted a challenging but not overly punishing game. The increasing challenge of the boss necessitates a shift of priorities from the player, from avoiding the current attack levied against you to predicting where the next attack will come from. In the first phase, you'll only need to worry about the downward dive, so it's only a matter of moving out of the way. In phase 2, you'll have to avoid the horizontal dash and the vertical dive at the same time, so your only option is a diagonal move. The player still needs to take into account, however, where the third lord will attack from, so this diagonal will not be safe for long. There is a new set of movements and safe spots when having to worry about attacks from multiple directions at once, which correlates with the quote that challenge alters the sensation of control by focusing the player on different areas of the possibility space of motion. This is exemplified by the design pillar of William Pellon, who wanted attacks to be avoidable up until the last second, so the player feels more in control. This is also a result of the inertialess movement of the knight. The fight is not only about evasion, however, and you will need to be confident and efficient enough with your dodging to allow time to weave in attacks, which further relates to our definition of skill as efficiency of producing intended results. And these are my references.